When these playoffs began, I don't think a single person seriously expected the Indiana Pacers to emerge as the Eastern Conference Finals representative in the NBA Finals. Exactly 25 years on from their last Finals appearance, just like they did in the year 2000, the Indiana Pacers have once again defeated the New York Knicks in 6 games, punching their ticket back to the Finals. Now they sit just 4 wins shy of capturing the franchise's first NBA title, which is an amazing feat in itself, but how did we get here? What gives this Indiana Pacers team an actual shot at the title? Well, today I'm going to walk you through the 4 biggest reasons why I believe this team can actually win it all. And trust me, you're going to want to stick around for the 4th and final reason, because it might just be the most important reason of all. But first, let's start off with reason 1, and that is the brilliance of Tyrese Haliburton. Throughout the Eastern Conference Finals, Haliburton was everywhere. He led Indiana in threes made, steals and blocks combined, total steals, assists and rebounds, while also being second in total points scored. He did it all, yet somehow it wasn't good enough to earn him the Eastern Conference Finals MVP, which instead went to Pascal Siakam, a guy who also had a fantastic series, no doubt, and we'll get into him more deeply later. But I really felt like Haliburton was snubbed. He became just the 3rd player in NBA history to average at least 20 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 steals per game in a conference finals series, joining only Russell Westbrook and Magic Johnson. That's elite company. And while the individual accolades slipped away, there isn't any question that the chance to bring the title back to Indiana will mean far more to him than just any one individual award could ever offer. Tyrese Haliburton's full series averages were 21 points, 6 rebounds, 10.5 assists, and 2.5 steals per game, numbers that speak volumes to his production. But it was one specific performance that really stood out in this series: his monstrous Game 4. In that game, Haliburton exploded for 32 points, 12 rebounds, 15 assists, and 4 steals, doing it all on 48% shooting. And better yet, he did not commit a single turnover. That's right, 15 assists, not one giveaway. These are the kinds of performances that don't just win games, they completely define series. The Knicks, for all their effort, could not get out of their own way. Even with one less turnover here or there, things could have shifted in this series. But for Indiana, they thrived on these small margins, protecting the ball, hitting their free throws, and executing smart plays down the stretch. And of course, Tyrese Haliburton was at the heart of everything that was working for Indiana. What makes him so special is how the entire Pacers offense flows through him. It's built to run. And even when teams know what's coming, those leak outs, those early transition attacks, Haliburton continues to find his teammates with pinpoint passes, the types of dimes that only a handful of players have ever been able to make, especially at the rate that he makes them. That Game 4 performance made him just the 3rd player in the history of the NBA to record at least 30 points, 10 rebounds, and 15 assists, all in a single playoff game, joining just Oscar Robertson, who did it twice, and Nikola Jokic, who did it once. Then, when it came time to close the door, Haliburton was able to deliver again. 21 points, 6 rebounds, 13 assists, 3 steals and a block on 53% shooting in Game 6. What was the most impressive part about that Game 6 performance was how it wasn't just the numbers. It was how he overcame adversity. Early on, the Knicks had adjusted their defensive strategy, pressuring Haliburton much higher and trying to disrupt him before he could get comfortable. And for a while, it seemed to work, but great players always figure it out. Haliburton stayed composed, and when he absolutely had to, he took over this game in the 4th quarter, making 5 field goals in the final term, one of those a 33-foot bomb that served as the ultimate dagger, ending New York season. That ability to stay calm under pressure, to never be rattled when the ball is in his hands, is exactly what Indiana needs as they now prepare for a massive test coming in the NBA Finals against one of the best defenses the NBA has ever seen, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, the second reason why I genuinely believe the Indiana Pacers have a shot at the championship is because of the elite level play from Pascal Siakam. Now, while I personally don't believe he should have taken home that conference finals MVP, there's absolutely no denying that Siakam had a phenomenal series himself. He put up 24.8 points per game, along with 5 rebounds and 1.3 steals, doing it all on an ultra-efficient 52% from the field and a blistering 50% from beyond the arc. Time and time again, when Indiana needed someone to step up and take on that scoring burden, especially while Haliburton was focused on orchestrating the offense, it was Siakam who stepped up and delivered. What's been so impressive is how seamlessly he slotted into this team. Don't get me wrong, Siakam was incredibly impactful last season as well, as he was a huge reason as to why they made the conference finals that year as well. But now that he's had a full off season to gel with the team and to really understand Rick Carlisle's system, we're seeing a completely elevated version of Pascal Siakam. He's been locked in all season long, making the All-Star team, as his mixture of mentality and physicality have been awesome for this young team. I've said it before and I'll say it again. He's become Indiana's ultimate Swiss Army knife. Whether it's switching defensively onto the opponent's toughest matchups or leading the team in scoring on the other end, even doing both at the same time. His constant energy, tenacity, and poise are now completely baked into the Pacers' identity. They just do not function the same without him. He's that important to the foundation of what this team is. In that Game 6 closeout, for example, I honestly don't know where Indiana would have been without his offense. Siakam finished that game with 31 points on 56% shooting, along with a steal and 3 blocks. And so much of that production came when they absolutely had to have it. The Knicks, to their credit, came out locked in defensively, clamping everyone down, except for Pascal Siakam, as he just kept answering the call, hitting tough shot after tough shot, keeping the Pacers afloat. That stretch at the beginning of the third quarter stands out so clearly to me. After 3.5 minutes of the second half, he was the only Indiana Pacer in double digits, while already having 8 points in that third term. He quite literally carried this team offensively through stretches. But the performance that probably settled the MVP award for him in the series was Game 2, arguably the best playoff performance of his entire career. Siakam poured on 39 points with 5 rebounds and a steal, doing it all on a ridiculous 73% true shooting. That game was monstrous, giving the Pacers a 2-0 lead before even heading home. And looking back, it's clear that Game 2 was where the tide of the series ultimately turned in Indiana's favor. What makes Pascal so difficult to deal with, especially when he's rolling, is how unguardable he becomes due to his size and length. Similar to Kevin Durant, his height makes his shots incredibly difficult to contest, but he goes about his mid-range scoring in a completely different way. KD's more of a pull-up maestro, but Pascal Siakam loves to work from the low or mid-post, using his signature spin moves and those silky fadeaways to create the separation needed. And when he's got that touch going, hitting a couple of buckets in a row, there's basically nothing a defense can do about it. He just gets to his spots and he knows he's going to score, and that is especially important when Indiana's fast break offense slows down a little bit and they can get the ball into his hands to generate a bucket when they absolutely have to have it. The total package of the physical tools, refined skill, and willingness to do the dirty work on both ends has made him completely indispensable to this team. Night in and night out, he delivered the kind of two-way impact that championship teams are built upon. And frankly, frankly, I don't know if the Pacers would have survived this series if it wasn't for his scoring punch, especially in those tight grinding stretches where buckets became just so difficult to get. Siakam's ability to anchor them in these moments and really lead this team by example on the floor using his championship experience as a guide puts them just 4 wins away from making history. The third reason why I truly believe this Indiana Pacers team are a legitimate threat at the title is because of the outstanding contributions they received from their role guys all throughout the series. So many of these role players stepped up in the moment, constantly doing exactly what was asked of them, and in doing so, they helped to elevate Tyrese Haliburton and Pascal Siakam to new heights. These weren't just guys filling in minutes. Everybody coming off that Pacers bench were real game changers. Guys like Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith, and Miles Turner in the starting 5 were awesome, but also the bench mob featuring TJ McConnell, Ben Shepherd, and Obi Toppin were really impactful as well. Each of these guys had their big moments and big performances that helped Indiana to keep the scoreboard ticking over when it mattered the most. Let's start off with Miles Turner. He's the longest tenured Pacer and in many ways the heartbeat of this team. He's been with Indiana for a third of his life, and you can just feel his presence on the court, not just through his shot blocking or three-point shooting, but through his leadership and poise. In the first half of Game 6, when it really felt like a slugfest of a battle for the first time in this series, as credit to New York, they successfully slowed down Indiana's transition game in that first half, but it was Miles Turner who kept the Pacers in it. While Siakam was also carrying the scoring load, Turner made timely shot after timely shot early as well, including some massive threes to keep Indiana from falling behind. And that's been the story of the whole series, playing his role to perfection, both as a rim protector and a stretch big who spaces the floor seamlessly for Haliburton to be able to get in those driving lanes and find his guys. Then there's the duo of Andrew Nembhard and Aaron Nesmith, both of whom were tasked with defending Jalen Brunson. Nesmith's Game 1 was unforgettable, knocking down 6 threes in just 5 minutes to bring Indiana back from the dead, where they would then go on to seal the opener in the series in one of the most wild individual playoff stretches we're ever going to see. But later in the series, he started to deal with some limitations due to an ankle injury sustained in Game 4. And although he still made his presence felt on both ends of the floor, he simply appeared to be less mobile, and that opened the door for Andrew Nembhard to take the baton on defending Brunson, and he ran with it. Andrew Nembhard in Game 6 put on a defensive masterclass, holding Brunson to just 19 points on 44% shooting while forcing 5 turnovers. Andrew Nembhard would finish the game with 6 steals, the most any player has had in a single playoff game this entire postseason. What makes Nembhard so effective is that he's incredibly tough to knock off balance. He's shorter, more compact, and physical, constantly staying in an opponent's airspace and never letting them breathe. Brunson, usually unshakable, looked visibly frustrated by the end of this series thanks to Nembhard's relentless pressure. Then the center of their bench unit is TJ McConnell, the ultimate change of pace weapon. Just when you think Haliburton's going to the bench and things might be slowing down for Indiana, McConnell checks in and the pace somehow increases. His shot making in the mid-range is borderline unfair, especially for a player of his stature. And the way he finishes around the basket, always around bigger defenders, is genuinely remarkable. He's constantly driving and kicking, keeping Indiana's ball movement alive even when the stars are off the floor, allowing the bench unit to be really effective. Even though his three-point shooting has never been a strength in his career, when the New York Knicks dared him to take threes, he made them pay. But even when he's not making those shots from downtown, he's still able to beat guys off the dribble, get to his pull-ups, work off of screens, or find the open shooters. He's a nightmare to stay in front of and a relentless engine for that bench unit, one of the biggest strengths for Indiana. What makes the Pacers so dangerous is how even on off nights where Haliburton or Siakam just aren't at their best, they can still win games pretty comfortably because of their bench. These guys are not just passengers. They've proven to be engines in their own right, capable of changing and dictating full playoff games, shifting the momentum and forcing opponents to adjust. That's the kind of depth and buy-in across the entire roster that makes this Pacers team so difficult to pull away from, and it's a huge reason why they are now just 4 wins away from bringing a title to Indiana for the first time in franchise history. The fourth, and in my opinion, the biggest reason why the Indiana Pacers have a real chance to win the championship is the overall attitude of this team. This is a team that just never says die. They fight, they scrap, and no matter the score or how much time is left, you truly have not beaten Indiana until that final buzzer sounds. Time and time again, they've pulled off some of the most wild, the most statistically improbable comebacks we've ever seen, and it's happened all in the space of one playoff run. The most recent example, Game 1 against the Knicks in MSG. ESPN's win probability chart tells you everything. With just 34 seconds to go, it still sat at a 95% chance for the Knicks to win. But then the Pacers happened. They closed the game on an insane 20-6 run. Each possession more surreal than the last, with Aaron Nesmith catching fire, as it truly felt like something out of a movie, all capped off by the ridiculous bounce shot from Haliburton, taking the game into overtime where they then handled business. But the craziest part of all of this is how it isn't new to them. Go back to Game 2 against Cleveland. The Cavaliers had a 96% chance to win the game with 57 seconds to go, up by 7. That's usually game over. But again, Indiana didn't blink. Nesmith had a massive putback dunk off a free throw, and then Haliburton, in a moment of pure hustle, pulled down his own offensive board off a missed free throw, then was able to step back and drill the game winner. That's a play born out of belief, out of sheer willpower. And for people who still think that these comebacks were flukes, let's go back even further to Game 5 against the Bucks. Overtime, Indiana's down 7 with 39 seconds to go, and somehow they win that as well. An 8-0 run out of nowhere to close the series in absolutely shocking fashion. That is 3 separate games in this postseason alone where Indiana turned near certain losses into jaw-dropping wins. Not just comebacks, statistically absurd comebacks. Ones that should have been impossible, but they weren't. And all 3 of them point to one thing: this team's unshakable trust in each other, their complete belief in Rick Carlisle's system, and a mental toughness that you just don't see in many teams, let alone a team this young. Their togetherness is truly special, and that is what makes this finals matchup against OKC so compelling. It's 2 of the youngest, hungriest, most high-energy teams in the NBA going head-to-head. On one side, you've got one of the greatest offensive systems in the history of the league, and on the other, you've got one of the most disciplined, versatile defenses in recent memory, one that can absolutely bury you off the turnover battle. But that's what makes it so interesting. Both teams love to run, love to force turnovers, and love to get themselves going out on the fast break. It is going to be an all-out war, and if Indiana's attitude and belief continue to show up like it has all postseason, then I would not be surprised if this team really does end up finishing the job. In the coming days, I'm releasing my full NBA Finals prediction between the Pacers and the Thunder, but in the meantime, you can check out my full video on the 4 reasons why I believe the Oklahoma City Thunder have the pieces required to win the championship, and you can watch that entire breakdown right now.